The scent of fresh grape leaves still haunts me sometimes. When I close my eyes at night in my Manhattan apartment, I can almost feel the cool soil beneath my feet in my family's vineyard back in Montepulciano. My hands remember the textures, rough grapevines in the morning, smooth silk fabrics by afternoon, and sharp pencils sketching designs into the night. "Maria, your head is always in the clouds," my father would say, not unkindly. He never understood why I'd rush through harvesting grapes just to hide away with my sketchbooks. That was 15 years ago. Before New York. Before everything changed. I was 22 when I first saw New York City through the tiny airplane window. The skyline looked like a row of needles piercing the sky, not unlike the sewing needles my grandmother taught me to use when I was 7. The city appeared both terrifying and magnetic. I had $2,400 in my pocket, a fashion degree from Roma, and absolutely no connections in America. My first apartment was a 400-square-foot studio in Queens that cost $1,100 a month. I shared it with Maria Elena, a dancer from Spain. We joked about both being Mariahs in America. The ceiling leaked when it rained, and we could hear every argument from the couple upstairs. But it was mine, the first step towards something bigger. You come from wine country to make clothes. My first boss at Darien Fashions laughed when I told him where I was from. Shouldn't you be making wine instead? I just smiled. Americans love stereotypes about Italians. The fashion industry wasn't welcoming. I worked 14-hour days at Darien, starting as a sample coordinator who basically organized everyone else's creations. My designs, the ones I stayed up until 3 a.m. working on, sat in portfolios nobody asked to see. "Your aesthetic is too Italian, too traditional," one design director told me during my third job interview. "American men want bold, futuristic. Not old-world craftsmanship." I took the subway home that night and cried. Not loud, dramatic tears like in movies. The quiet kind that come when you're wondering if you've made the biggest mistake of your life. My mother called the next morning. "Come home, Maria," she said, her voice warm through the phone. "The vineyard is still here. Your room hasn't changed." For a moment, I considered it. The safe embrace of the known. The comfort of family. The predictable rhythm of seasons in Tuscany. "I need more time," I told her instead. Year 4 in New York brought 3 layoffs, 16 rejected design proposals, and my 30th birthday. I celebrated by splurging on a $7 cupcake in Central Park, watching people rush by while questioning every life choice. That same week, I met Gabriel, a fabric supplier from Brooklyn with connections to Italian mills. "You keep talking about these Italian tailoring techniques," he said over coffee. "Show me." I brought my sketchbook to our next meeting. Not the polished portfolio I showed at interviews, my real sketchbook, with the wine stain on page 43 and the notes scribbled in Italian along the margins. The one where I'd drawn men's jackets with the structured shoulders my grandfather's tailor used to create, but with modern proportions. Gabriel flipped through it silently. I prepared for another rejection. "This isn't what American menswear is doing," he said finally. I know, Maria. This is what American menswear should be doing." Small breaks rarely announce themselves as turning points. Gabriel introduced me to Marcus Dillard, an investor with an interest in menswear. Marcus liked that I wasn't trying to copy what was already in department stores. "Men are tired of disposable fashion," Marcus said. "They want stories in what they wear." With a $75,000 investment, smaller than most fashion startups receive, Montepulciano, New York was born. The name bridged where I came from and where I'd landed. We started with 10 jacket designs. Just jackets, nothing else. I insisted on fabric from mills near my hometown, construction techniques I'd grown up observing in my grandfather's closet, and subtle details American brands overlooked: hand-stitched sleeve heads, floating canvas construction, hand-rolled lapels. Our first collection cost us every penny of the investment. I slept in our tiny workshop most nights, waking with fabric scraps stuck to my face and measuring tape around my wrist like a bracelet. When we showed at a small menswear showcase, exactly 3 buyers approached us. One from Barney's, New York. "These feel different," the buyer said, running her hand along a lapel. "Where did you learn to create this structure?" I told her about watching my grandfather's suits being made when I was a child. How the tailor let me fold pocket squares and hold pins. How I'd spend hours studying the way fabric moved when he walked through the vineyard. She placed an order for 27 jackets. Not hundreds, like she ordered from established brands. Just 27. Those 27 jackets sold out in 2 weeks. Success isn't a straight line. Year 6 saw a fabric supplier disappear with $18,000 of our money. Year 7 brought a copycat brand that undercut our prices using cheaper materials but similar designs. Year 8, a retail partner went bankrupt while owing us payment for 56 jackets. Each time, I'd walk along the Brooklyn waterfront at night, looking at the Manhattan skyline, wondering if this was the end. Each time, I'd remember my grandmother's words when teaching me to sew: "If the thread breaks, you tie a knot and continue. The garment doesn't care about your frustration." So I tied knots and continued. By year 10, Montepulciano, New York had grown to a team of 17 people. We had expanded beyond jackets to full menswear collections. Our approach remained the same: obsessive attention to craftsmanship, Italian techniques, and an emphasis on longevity over trends. "I want to make pieces a man's son will fight to inherit," I explained in interviews. Major retailers now carried our line. Fashion magazines featured our clothes. We opened our first shop 3 years ago, a small space in Soho with floors made from reclaimed wood from a Tuscan farmhouse. The rent was $13,500 a month, more than 10 times what I'd paid for my first apartment. Last spring, I went home to Montepulciano for the first time in 3 years. My father, now older with hands permanently stained by decades of working with grapes, walked with me through the vineyard. "I never understood why you wanted to leave this," he said, gesturing to the rolling hills and ancient stone houses in the distance. I took his weathered hand in mine. I had to go to remember why this matters. Later that evening, I watched him try on one of my jackets. He studied his reflection, running his fingers along the stitching the way he examines vines to check their health. "This is good work," he said quietly. "The highest praise an Italian father can offer." People ask me for advice now. Young designers, immigrants like me, dreamers of all kinds. I tell them the truth: my success wasn't built on talent alone. Talent is common. Persistence is rare. New York has graveyards full of talented people who gave up too soon. I survived because I was too stubborn to accept failure as final. I kept going because I couldn't imagine facing my family and saying I'd failed. I succeeded because each rejection made me more determined to prove everyone wrong. Was it worth it? The lonely nights, the tears on subway platforms, the missed family gatherings, the relationships that crumbled under the weight of my ambition. I've asked myself this question 1,000 times. The answer changes daily. What remains constant is this: when a man walks into our store and tries on a Montepulciano jacket for the first time, I see the exact moment he feels the difference. His shoulders straighten. He stands taller. Something shifts in his expression. In that moment, I've connected the craftsmanship of my homeland with the ambition of my adopted city. In that moment, every sacrifice makes sense. My story isn't special because I succeeded. It's special because I failed repeatedly and kept going. New York doesn't reward perfection, it rewards persistence. If you're standing at the edge of your own dream right now, terrified to jump, remember this: the net doesn't appear until you're falling. Trust that you'll either land safely or learn to fly on the way down. The vineyard is always there if you need to go back. But the skyline calls to those who aren't finished growing yet. Are you?